What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to be talking about positioning in CSS, all right, and how to use the various positioning techniques: static, absolute, relative, fixed, and sticky. So let's proceed. So basically, positioning helps us to, position some certain elements in our web page, either by overlapping other elements, or it actually helps us to position an element exactly where we want it to be. All right. Let's pose this. You can see the container, all right, and you can see for sale at the top left and urgent at the top right. As you can see, they are overlapping the background images that are there in the container already, so we're able to position the element at the top left and at the top right. All right, so that is what position helps us to achieve. So let's proceed. Okay, so I've set up my basic HTML and my CSS for styling, right? So I'm going to be having four divs. So one is the parent div. Then we're going to be having four divs inside the parent div. Okay, I'm going to give this a class of parents, and let's just give paragraph of parent div, right? Then I'm going to give this class of div1, div1. I'm going to give this class of div2. The value should be div2. Sorry, class of div3, right? Div3, and finally class of div4. Div4, right? Good. So in our CSS, let's give, okay, we already have a parent, so let's call the classes div1, 2, 3, 4, 1, div2, div3, and div4. Okay, good. So let's open our web page. All right, as you can see, div1, div2, div3, and div4 are there already. So let's give them different colors so that we'll be able to differentiate between all the divs. So let's give a background color of green for our parent div, right? Let's give background color of red for div1, background color of blue, background color of brown, background color of okay, let's give okay, this brown is, let's give another color. Okay, I like this. Okay, good. Then also for this, I want my body to have zero margin and padding, so I'm going to give it auto margin, sorry, zero, not auto. So let it start from the original page. Okay, let me remove this paragraph also. So let's there. I want to eliminate all possible spaces. Good. So now in our parent div, okay, let's give it a margin of 10 pixels and padding of 10 pixels also. So we should see space because we would be needing this later on. Okay, good. So I've set up my project and we are good to go. We have our parent div and we have a margin of 10 pixels and a padding of 10 pixels, right? And we have div 1, div 2, div 3 and div 4 with different colors. All right, so the first thing we'll talk about is the static position. All right, that is the default position. As you can see, all the elements are under each other. They follow the normal document flow, right? Div 1 is at the inside our parent div 1 is at the top, div 2 is at under div 1, div 3 is under div 2 and div 4. So the default is static. That's our default position. All right, then we don't need to do anything because it's there by default, right? So the next position we'll talk about is relative. The relative is just like the static, but it allows us to move elements top, right, top, bottom, left and right. Okay, so let's move div 1. Let's work on div 1, right? So this is div 1, which is a background color of red. All right, which is this. I'm going to be coming here and give it a position of relative, right? And as you can see, nothing happens because we've not tried to move the element. All right, so we can come here and say left. It's let's give it 10 pixels from the left. 10 pixels from the left, right? As you can see, it shifts away from the left. All right, so what position relative does is that it positions the element relative to the parent container. All right, in this case div 1, the parent container for div 1 is div of class parent. All right, and div of class parent has a background color of green, right? As you can see, it drifted away from the left of the parent container. We can increase it to, let's say, 40 pixels. All right, as you can see, it's still going to the shifting from the left, 40 pixels from the left. We can give it top of 10 pixels, right? And as you can see, it shifts 10 pixels from the top of our parent container. All right, so this is exactly what relative does. It does not consider the normal document flow, right? It's removed from the document flow. All right, initially the document flow was everything were under each other, but right now we can see the one has been overlapping. We can see div 1 is overlapping div 2. All right, so we can try bottom, we can try top. That's it for relative, right? It allows you to position elements inside a parent element. All right, so it's always relative to the parent element. Okay, good. So that brings us to absolute positioning. All right, so what absolute positioning does is that it removes an element from the document flow as well, right? Okay, let's proceed. I would remove everything now, move everything concerning relative. Good. Okay, so still on div 1, let's give it a position of absolute. All right, as you can see, it removes the element from the document flow, right? It does not consider which other elements are there, so in this case we can also use top, left, right and bottom. All right, so let's try top of 0. And as you can see, like I said initially, it does not follow the normal document flow. It is removed from the document flow, and it does not concern its element around it. All right, so as you can see, it's the absolute position tries to get a parent element with the nearest position that is fixed. All right, currently div1, okay, yeah, currently the parent element of div1 is class parent, right? And it tries to look for the parent, which is the class of parent, and checks is there a position. If there is no position, it tries to get the highest, it tries to get to another element that is above the parent to look for position. But since there is no element, it then gets to the body. Okay, by default the absolute position itself in relative to the body. All right, as you can see, when we gave it a position of absolute, and a top of 0, it went straight to the body. All right, it disregarded its parent element, which is the parent div, right? So in order for us to position our element with absolute in relative to its parent div, we have to give a parent div position. All right, so if I should go back to my dot parent and give it position of relative, coming back to refresh, we can see that coming to refresh, you can see it still sticks with the sub parent. All right, because the sub parent is the nearest parent element that has the position set. All right, so if we should remove relative for both parent and sub parent, it goes back to the body. So that is how absolute positioning works in CSS. It positions itself to the closest parent element that has a positioning set in its CSS. Okay, good. I can decide to, okay, now it says to the sub parent, right? I can decide to give div1 right of 10 pixels. Okay, as you can see, it has moved 10 pixels from the right of our sub parent. All right, we can decide to give it a top instead of 0, can give it a top of 10 pixels as well. And as you can see, it moves 10 pixels from the top of our element. All right, so that's it for the absolute positioning, right? Most of the time you are going to be working with absolute and relative together. All right, so that brings us to fixed positioning. All right, so I will as well remove anything relating to positioning, again our CSS, so we can return back to the default behavior. All right, okay, we can work with this. So basically, if I should give this a position of fixed, right, it's fixed to the top, and just like absolute, the default position is fixed position is relative to the body. All right, so if I should give this a top of 0, it goes straight to the body. All right, even if you try to scroll, it does not scroll, it's fixed. So now let's increase the height of our parent element 1000 pixels, right? And I try to scroll. As you can see, other elements have been scrolling, but um div1 refuses to scroll. It's fixed at the top. All right, most of the times when working with your navigation bar, you are going to be needing your navigation bar to be at the fixed top, right? Not scrollable. Oh, this is basically like let me scrollable. All right, so that's it for fixed. Okay, so that brings us to our last position we'll be talking about, which is the sticky position. All right. What the sticky position does is that initially it renders itself as a relative position element. Then as you scroll, it acts as a fixed element. All right. Most of the times you would need it in your um, navigation bar as well. So I want to be able to scroll this page and leave div 2 at the top. All right, so I can come to give it a position of sticky and a top of 0. Right, refresh scrolling. As you can see, it stops at the top. So initially it acts as a relative element, but once it reaches the top, it stops there and it's fixed there. So we can increase the top to 10 pixels. Right, refreshing. Okay, you can see it's normal. So once I scroll, it stops at 10 pixels from the top. All right, so that is it about positioning. You can use positioning to design beautiful containers, beautiful elements in your web pages. All right, so see you in the next video.